Hello everyone, I hope you had a nice spooky season. I enjoyed some Halloween parties this weekend myself, which is why this video and the Topaz video are horrendously late. However, it's over. It's over now. She's coming. I've been told to keep all lights off because I am filming this the day before it's posted, hopefully. So it is Halloween. We don't want people thinking that we have candy, because we don't. We're broke. This is our first rerun banner, and for every rerun that I don't have a guide for, I'll be making one. So I'm going to be working overtime. It's going to be a good time. She is our first rerun banner. She was the first limited 5-star character. She is our butterfly girly pop. And without further ado, let's get into what she does. So she is Quantum, she is on the path of the hunt, and generally she's a very classic DPS. She doesn't really have a lot of gimmicks going for her, whereas Topaz is all about follow-up attacks and Jingliu is all about like taking her allies' HP. Seele is honestly as classic as it gets right now. She's also not a character that heavily needs certain characters to work, so she kind of fits everywhere, which is honestly really great. I personally find her to be a reliable and consistent damage dealer, so I've been really enjoying her since release. I wouldn't put her on the same level as Jingliu. You might still want to sub DPS with her, but she's a pretty risk-free character and a safe value to invest in. Her basic attack, skill, and ultimate all do damage to a single target. However, her only gimmicky feature and what makes her a 5-star character is her talent. It's pretty simple. When you kill an enemy with Seele, she gets a second turn in which she is buffed. That turn does not count as a follow-up attack, by the way. She also automatically enters her buffed state when doing her ultimate. In this buff state, her damage increases by a maximum of 80%, and with her Lacerate trace unlocked, her resistance penetration increases by 20%. With her technique, she immediately enters battle in her buffed state, and in the overworld she gains stealth, which makes her invisible to enemies for 20 seconds. Note, destroying objects will terminate her invisibility. Other traces make it so that below 50% HP, she is less likely to be attacked, and that after using her basic attack, her turn is advanced by 20%. Her skill and talent are highest priority, followed by her ultimate, and finally her basic attack. I'd say for every 2 level you give to her skill or talent, give 1 to her ultimate. In terms of gameplay, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna use her skill every time you can. Same for her ultimate, you use it when you can. Do note that since she enters her buff state during her ultimate anyway, you actually don't need to wait for her to kill someone before using it. You won't see it immediately, but once her attack starts is when her buff is applied. I did the tests. Killing someone and then triggering her ultimate doesn't make a difference. And I found out for the context of this video, because I didn't want to say something stupid. And I would have if I hadn't tested it. You know, I was fully going to show you how to like make sure she has her buff when you trigger her ultimate. It doesn't make a difference. She is buffed. Do also know that it's clever to keep someone alive if it doesn't put your team in danger, so that Seele can swoop in and terminate their ass to gain her buff. Just don't forget not to do that when she's not on the team. You'll feel a little dumb. I wouldn't know, man. Her signature light cone in the night is overall the best one for her, and if you use this light cone on her, you definitely want to give her speed boots. Cruising in the Stellar Sea is another good one, especially because it buffs attack after defeating an enemy, which is something you're going to be doing a lot with Seele to get her to her buff state. Sleep Like the Dead is also a generally good one, and finally you should avoid Worrisome Blissful, obviously, because it centers around follow-up attack, which Seele does not have. For 4-star light cones, River Flows in Spring, Only Silence Remains, and Subscribe for More are all good for her. I personally keep Subscribe for More for Sushang, since I tend to save her ultimate for the right moment, unlike Seele's, which is kind of always the right moment, but it could serve well either way. I'd avoid using swordplay on her. She's not the kind of character you use to target only one person at a time until they're dead. In fact, you're gonna switch targets often depending on which enemy you can kill right away, so this one's not for her. Finally, for 3-star light cones, Darting Arrow and Adversarial will be both great since she'll do a lot of killing. Arrows is fun, but I'm not the biggest fan of light cones that become useless after a couple turns, so I recommend not going for that one. For her Relics, Genius of Brilliant Star is by far the best pick. It's the best pick even for some non-quantum characters, so you best believe it's the best pick for her too. This is because of the defense shred. However, you could also go for Musketeer of Bald Wheat. If you're early game and you have to choose between Musketeer and Thief of Shooting Meteor, go for Musketeer. It's not even a question. If you want 2 2-piece sets for her, questionable move, but I respect it, Musketeer and Genius of Brilliant Star is your best bet. I don't recommend pairing Messenger Traversing Hackerspace with either of those because the 4-piece benefit from Musketeer already gives 6% speed increase, so you'd gain more from that, and for Genius of Brilliant Star, you're honestly so much better with the defense shred than with a bit more speed. Overall, you should you should just go for Genius of Brilliant Star. For planet ornaments, we're going with either Space Sailing Station or Rutilant Arena. Inner Salsoda is an option possibly, but since she doesn't have a follow-up attack, you're losing on value here. Use it if you have a spare, but don't farm for it. The choice between the other two comes down to whether you need the crit rate or the attack. If you're early in the game or you used a speed boot on her, go with Space Sailing Station for return on investment, and if not, I'd recommend Rutilant Arena. We're about to talk about her main stats, so I do want to mention the balance between attack, crit rate, and crit damage first. Since she's not a character with a gimmick like Jingliu, who boosts her own crit rate for example, we need to provide her with all those stats ourselves. A mistake I see a lot is people going all out on crit damage with little crit rate, or good crit rate and crit damage with no attack. For a DPS character, you need a good base of attack. You can't skip that step. You can have all the crit damage in the world. If your attack stat is abysmal, it means nothing, because ultimately your crit damage will scale off of your attack. Similarly, you can have all the crit damage in the world, but if your crit rate is at 15%, you're not going to crit often enough for that crit damage to matter. You need good attack, around 50 to 70% crit rate, and then anything you can get in crit damage. Also, this is something I haven't mentioned before. If you're early in the game, you don't need to worry about crit rate and crit damage right now. Worry about your attack stat and survival. For her main stats, for her body, you want either crit rate or crit damage. Personally, I have one of both. For the longest time, I used my crit damage body because it also rolled just better. We don't talk about this one. She actually does more damage with the crit rate one, but it rolled like shit. For her bootsies, you want attack, unless you have her signature light cone. In that case, speed. For planar ornaments, you can go with either quantum damage boost or attack, whichever best one you have. Usually, quantum damage boost at this step would be better, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Lastly, for the rope, attack. We don't need a regen rope for her. Whether you choose a crit rate or a crit damage body, actually, wait, we're gonna do this. Aha! Whether you choose a crit rate or a crit damage body depends on the light cone that you chose and the mix of substats that you have. However, in most cases, when you do the math, crit rate is actually going to end up being better for you, especially if this crit rate body here is what makes it so that your Rutilant Arena 70% triggers or not. That 20% actually does a big difference, so don't ignore it. So for substats for her, you're probably going to be looking for crit rate first and then crit damage, maybe the other way around. You want speed and you want attack percent. For team compositions, she kind of goes with everyone. Honestly, that's like, yeah, she's kind of like a one package deal. You know, with Jingliu, if you have Jingliu on the team, you're gonna need a healer, you're gonna be better off with a preservation unit, and lastly, you probably want someone to buff her damage. You know, so you want a team that's kind of built around her. Seele, you can just kind of fit her anywhere. That's what I like about her. Obviously, the famous Monoquantum team will be good. We have... This is not a very F2P friendly team, okay? But soon, we're gonna have a Quantum Destruction, so I'm excited for that. Whether the whole team is here or not, Seele and Silverwolf work great together. And I have Silverwolf be just a little bit faster than Seele so that when the battle starts, Silverwolf can implant quantum weakness to enemies and then Seele swoops in and kills everyone, and it's great. Other people that work great with her are Bronya and Tingyun for damage buffing. I personally, if you have Bronya, I like her a little bit more because of her ultimate because of her ultimate that boosts crit damage, so that can be really handy. I appreciate that a lot. But Tingyun is also a character where her boost lasts for more than one turn, so you don't always need 2 skill points left, so that can be good as well. Characters that she kind of doesn't work with, we have Kafka and Topaz and Numbi. That's because Kafka and Topaz kind of have the same type of dynamic where they have one purpose. Kafka is here to really bring DOT teams to the front. Topaz is here for the follow-up attack teams. Seele, neither of those. So that's kind of like she's not the best person to put in that slot with these people. Danheng and Baibatur Lune, he's a very skill point heavy character, so is Seele. That's kind of just how it is. You're gonna be using her skill all the time. If you also have him on the team, you're gonna run out of points. Yay. And finally, Jingliu. Jingliu is good enough on her own, and she's going to take damage from your allies, so I just don't think that Seele is the best person to put on a team with her. None of these people are going to like break her gameplay or anything. I just don't think they're the best people to pair with her. But again, she's kind of like she's kind of a unit that's doing her own thing. She doesn't really need to rely on other units around her, so most of the time you can slot her in with anyone. Is she worth pulling for? I think so. I really think so. A lot of people thought that she would be power grabbed, but at this point, I really don't think it's the case. She's someone that can kind of work with anyone in any team, so I really appreciate that about her. Recently, we've been having characters like Kafka, where you need a DOT team around her. Topaz, she needs follow-up attack characters. Right now, the best ones are all 5-star characters, because what the fuck is Herda doing? Dan Heng, yes, but point heavy, so that's a bit tricky. Jingliu, you need other characters to really have her not annihilate your team. Seele is really a character you can just plop her anywhere. She'll be really efficient. I really enjoy her personally. Even if you're F2P and you invest a lot in her, like this for example, since she's going to be good with anyone, to me that's a safe value, that's a safe bet. And she's fun. I enjoy her. I would say the worst part about building her is the farming. That's kind of like what happens with a DPS, you know? Support characters are always going to be easier to build, but when you get closer to endgame, you're going to start freaking out about crits. That's normal, I think. But yeah, she's kind of a killer, and I really enjoy her. I would recommend pulling for her, 100%. Right now I'm comparing her a lot to Jingliu because I think Jingliu is like the strongest unit now in the game, personally. But Seele really holds her own. I like her a lot. I would recommend pulling for her. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, subscribe, like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Tell me who you're gonna be pulling for, and if you did pull already, tell me if you were lucky, because I wasn't. I knew Topaz was a capitalist. How could you do this to me? But now I'm saving my guarantee for Dr. Ratio. And with that said, RedVyren out.